Yo, what is going on, gamers? And today I have a brand new piece for you. I have a Aigis piece from Persona 3. Now, just before I get into the video, I want to let you know that I am doing a 100 subscriber giveaway, and we are at 99 subscribers, so we're really close to it. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested in entering. It is a free commission to one of you lucky winners out there. Before I kind of get into everything I'm going to talk about in this video, I want to let you know that I did have to cut out a little bit of content in this speed paint, or whatever you want to call it, just because it's definitely not super YouTuber friendly, especially when I'm getting up into these high resolutions. I have to get a little bit more deep into the anatomy, and YouTube definitely won't like that. So I apologize if you guys wanted to see a little bit of how I drew like the chest, the actual butt, or anything like that. I apologize, but I can't really show it. So some inspirations for this piece is, I'm not sure if you guys really know, but I am a huge Persona fan. I have started playing those games back in like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I started with Persona 5 because everyone starts with Persona 5. I remember it was on the Game Pass. I seen it there and I was like, you know what? Some cool things about this. Let me just give it a try, I guess. And then like 150 hours later, it was one of the greatest gaming experiences and one of the best stories I've ever had the privilege of playing. Then I got into Persona 4 Golden. Amazing game. Probably my favorite of all the Persona games. Of course, the graphics aren't really there like Persona 5 Royal or Persona 3 Reload, but the story and the mystery and the small little town that you're in, it really sets the atmosphere for me. And the stakes are super high. Everything's really meaningful. People you meet, like, they mean a lot. Like, these people, like, you see them all the time because these are the people that live in this area. You know them from however long ago or whatever. Like they all know each other. It feels amazing to play. It is my favorite. But then I finished that game and I was like, wait, Persona 3 is, you can play like the PlayStation 2 version or whatever it was. I believe it's PlayStation 2 version, or the just announced Persona 3 Reload a little bit ago. This was way back, and I decided to wait until then, and boy was it ever a great decision. This is the first game I pre-ordered in, like, I can't even tell you, like, years, like since Call of Duty Black Ops 2, like that long ago. I love this game so much. It is one of my favorites. Persona 4 is my favorite out of all the Personas, but this one is a very close second. It's a little bit slow at the start, but then halfway through, things just start picking up, and it is insane. And one of my favorite characters is this dorky robot named Aigis, who I'm drawing right now. She's obviously like an AI robot or whatever to help the team. I don't really want to spoil like too much, but she's gonna help like your team. And one of the things is that over time she's trying to learn how to be more human-like. And there's this dumbass named Junpei that's on the team. Also, first of all, he's a dumbass, but he's a Chad. All right, don't get that twisted. He's an amazing guy. He kind of teaches her like really weird slang and things. And one of them, and my inspiration for this was one of my favorite scenes is like you're sitting reading, and she just looks at the main character and just basically says, "Is that ass cracked?" Because asses are cracked down the middle. I was like, what the frig? This is hilarious. So I decided that now that I kind of have a little bit more skills, I should draw this scene. And also, I'm really curious if you guys clicked on this video because you are also a Persona fan. What Persona game is your favorite and why? I really want to know. Maybe even tell me your favorite character. I'd actually love to talk about this, because the Persona 4 is my favorite, but it's not by a landslide. All three of them are amazing games. It's really hard to put one over the other for me. And also, if you come in here and you're a Metaphor ReFantasio fan, don't worry, you're also welcome. That game is also amazing, like 10 out of 10. But anyways, enough yapping about kind of my love for this game. Maybe I'll talk about it some more, who knows. I wanted to tell you guys some of the challenges I want to face when doing this piece, and one of them was my head. And what I mean by that is, like, I draw heads a lot. Obviously, this is how I started doing art, and I haven't really done a lot of pieces where I've done like head tilts or like super side views. So I thought, let me try this. And I have her head coming from a tilted almost angle, like from the bottom left. She's like tilted a little bit, like her head, and then also it's stronger than 3/4, which I usually draw. I wanted to try something a little bit different and get out of my comfort zone. So that's one of the challenges I wanted to face. I think I did really well in that. Also, this pose. I've not done a back pose in like hundreds of days, and when I did, it was super quick. So this took me a long time to do, just because it was really hard for me to kind of get the anatomy down and how to draw this. I wanted to add a little bit of foreshortening. If you see my video before on, I believe it wasn't my REM video, it was my kind of Nazana like OC video, where I talked about wanting to do a little bit of foreshortening, and lo and behold, here it is. And also, I wanted to have a little bit more dynamic hair and less 2D looking hair. Those are the challenges I wanted to kind of face, and I think I did pretty well. Of course, there's definitely some improvements, and I'll talk about that later. But looking and watching this video, just know that these are the things that I was mainly focusing on when trying to create this character. When I structure a character, I generally have a workflow. And if you're clicking on this video and you're wondering, how does that workflow really work? Let me explain it. So for me, I'm very comfortable with heads, is what I started with. So I always start with a head. And how I draw a head is I use the Loomis method. And I'm not going to sit here and explain this. If you're interested, I actually did make a longer video of how I make heads, specifically front-facing heads, because it's really hard to explain like side view heads in super detail, especially when you're newer. So go check that out. I'll hopefully, if I remember, I'll put it in the top right. So check that out if you're interested in learning how I draw heads and exactly how I explain everything in super detail. I generally start with the head because I'm very comfortable with Loomis method by now, so it's not too hard for me. And then I'll structure out the hair. I'll do a little line work for the hair, but I won't do anything crazy because I want to get to the actual body. And then the first thing you should always do, and I've learned this through time of doing full body, is you should draw a line of action. You'll even see it here. I'll change it and how it's kind of presented. This isn't a one-to-one guideline for you, but it's to tell you how the overall body is going to look and where the weight is going. It's a wonderful guideline for that, and you should have it in every single full body drawing. Honestly, it's a lifesaver for me. But again, you'll see that I shifted throughout because it's not a guaranteed law that this is where my character is going to end up, and maybe I overshoot or undershoot. And that's completely fine, but we're going to reshape that, and I'll talk about that later. So when I draw my line of action, this represents kind of like if I draw a curvy line that's kind of pointed upwards, like you'll see for like the chest of my character, like it's showing that the chest is pointed up, but then we have this nice thick curve coming back. That's generally how like your back isn't straight, like it has a bit of arch. Mine was a little bit deeper than typical, but I wanted that to kind of show more of a foreshortened effect. So that's why I did it like that. And after I do a line of action, I typically draw two horizontal lines. One of them is for the shoulders and one of them is for the hips. The hips and shoulders generally follow each other. And if you want something to look really expressive, you can have the hips and the shoulders going in completely opposite directions with that line, and it makes it look super dynamic. Or you can have both of them going straight, but generally don't have the hips and the shoulder line going in the exact same direction, because it honestly, it looks really off. Like picture yourself standing and having your hips and your shoulders tilted to the right. It's really hard to do. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it feels unnatural. So imagine trying to do that in a drawing. It's just gonna look really wrong and goofy. So I tend to not do that. And then once I have those kind of lines of action, I generally do a lot of shaping. So I don't do anatomy one for one. I tried doing that for a long time, and eventually I will do it, better shaped characters, but you don't need it. Like honestly, I have those two lines following my line of action, and then I just drop down and make like a rectangle for the rib cage. Then in the middle of the rectangle, like from the rectangle to the bottom line that I draw the next horizontal line, in between there is a fluid state, which is more like your stomach, so it can kind of flow. So I generally leave that open until I draw a larger circle at the bottom line. Like I circle out the bottom line, and that's generally how I draw my hips. And then I connect the square shape of, or rectangle shape of my rib cage to that circle. And that circle is generally like, if you want to be realistic, it's around a little bit bigger than the shoulder line. But for here, because I'm foreshortening and I want bottom part of the character's body to appear like it's coming towards the camera a little bit, I made it a lot bigger than I would have. Like, I want you to envision that this character's butt is just coming towards the camera. Like, not super crazy. I didn't go insane on this, but I made it a lot bigger than I typically would. And that was my foreshortening. So when you have this connected like that, the top square or rectangle for the rib cage, and then you have your circle for your hips, you can have that fluid state in the middle. And when it's following the line of action, super easy to do. And then there you go. You kind of have a character outline already. You have the chest, the stomach, and then the hips. And then from the hips, you can just make, it's pretty simple. As long as you have a correct line of action or know about where the center is and where the legs are going to go, you can just drop those from the side of the hips to the middle of the circle that you made is where the legs are. And then you just drop them down, depending on if you have knees or not. This here, I cut it before we got to the knees. You just draw circles for the knees and kind of connect them, depending on how big or small the legs are. I can't really tell you how big to draw those knee circles because it's going to change depending on the character and what resolution you're working in, what size. Like, it all changes. It's just like the shoulders. You draw circles for those, to the elbows, to the wrist. At least for me, that's what I do. And it all changes depending on character size. Like, female characters tend to have a lot smaller shoulders, and then elbow is generally the biggest part of the arm, at least for like the joints. And then you want to squeeze that into your wrists, right? The wrists are pretty small, so you generally draw smaller ones. But I digress. These are just little things you don't really need to know about. So that's kind of how I structure a character, at least the anatomy wise. And then I'll go in, I'll draw the clothing and shade it. But the shading isn't at like a crazy level. Like, I'll do like my level 1 shading, which is like where things I want to be darker, I'll put. And then after I figure that out, I'll go and I'll create light sources. Like, I know where the light source is, but then I'll create even darker areas and then lighter areas from there. This piece I thought came out pretty well. I want to improve on my shading even more and get a little bit more dynamic with like how do I ruffle the clothing. I thought I did okay here, but I could definitely improve a lot more, and I will. The body anatomy is not 100%. I am very uncomfortable with drawing from the behind perspective of a character. This is my first time doing it, like, and trying to do it well. So it was definitely a tougher experience for me, but it didn't turn out terribly. I just need a little bit more practice with this, and I'm going to keep pushing myself because I want to get a lot better. And if I compare myself from 1 month to now, improvement has been there, and it's been there in plenty. I also want to get a little bit more confident. I find that I don't put a lot of light in like shiny areas because I'm just like kind of scared to do it almost, because your eyes tend to go to where the things are like super shiny. And if I put that in the incorrect spot, it's just gonna look really bad and wrong. So I'm gonna try to do that a little bit more and go a little bit more gung-ho with it. Even if it turns out like bad, it'll be a learning experience. And then lastly, I want to get a little bit more dynamic. Like, this pose was cool. I think I did really well, but the one thing that I kind of don't like is the arm on the left side. You can see it's just kind of sitting there. Like, I would have rather it like her grab her butt or like have her arm in the air doing something instead of just like sitting there doing nothing. It just kind of seems a little bit bland and boring. So next time I'm gonna have a little bit more of a plan to do something a little bit more cooler. For my future plans, I want to get again better at shading, and this needs a lot more improvement. But again, if you compare what I was doing from last month to this month, it's like night and day. Like honestly, like I'm getting a lot more confident. I just need more time. I need more practice. I need to understand how light hits objects more, and we'll get better. I do a lot of practice on my own time that I don't really show. And if you guys are interested, I could probably make a video on it. But I am getting better. It's just gonna take me time. Again, I want to do more expressive poses and something a little bit more fun. I want a little bit more confidence in how I present my pieces. I really want to get better at anatomy and actually understand how anatomy works 100%. I was doing that for a while. It was fun, but it was really challenging. I want to get back at it and kind of learn more about like the backside of like character anatomy and how that works. Finally, I have to figure out what's the next character I want to draw. I'm not 100% sure. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. If you made it that far, you guys are definitely real ones. And I really appreciate everyone who's been watching and supporting me. I can't believe we're almost at 100 subscribers. It's really awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. Honestly, it's unbelievable that I made it this far. But we're going to keep on pushing. And I'm glad that you guys enjoy the art journey. Even that you're silent people that subscribed and watch all my videos, I really appreciate it. I also, of course, appreciate all my reoccurring subs that come on and type a nice comment. I read every single comment. It means a lot to me, so I really appreciate it. But enough yapping. I gotta get back and do a little bit more art for you guys, get you guys some more content, get a little bit better myself, because we are going to the moon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Peace.